Good evening, everyone. And a special good evening and congratulations to our 8th graders who at last are graduating, at last getting your diploma. And I think I do certainly speak on behalf of the 2 other pastors, Monsignor Vianney and Father Geringer, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, plus also Father Miller and Father Tolentino, to congratulate each and every one of you and to give thanks to your parents for all of their hard work to get you here tonight. In particular, we thank all those involved with your education, Mrs. Fredericks, Mrs. Heinzelman, Ms. Gabriel, your other teachers, the staff at the school, who not just this year, but for many years, have been helping you along the way of your education, your formation, to finally reach tonight. You know, boys and girls, tonight was not an accomplishment of yours alone. It is that, certainly. But it's an accomplishment of a much larger group of people. Family, friends, school community, parish community. And they deserve your thanks. And I know that tonight will be an opportunity for you and I to thank God and also thank them for your presence here this evening. It's a big step. And I think that tonight, in our readings, and we chose these readings, they're not the usual readings of today, of the normal day. We decided to have readings from the votive Mass for charity. And so the readings, both from the New Testament, St. Paul's letter to the Romans, and from St. John's Gospel, I think have something particular to say to you, boys and girls. Following in the footsteps of Pope Francis, who has a habit of preaching in threes, I want to mention 3 things from our readings. 3 ideas, 3 words, if you will, that I believe God is directing toward each and every one of you. So now at the end I'm going to do a little test, so see if you can get these 3 phrases, all right? So you got to pay attention, right? One last time, pay attention. The first is really the word gift. You got that? Got it? Gift. First word is gift. Gift. Rejoice in the many gifts that God has given you. This is one of the reasons why St. Paul is writing to the Romans, to assure them that God has truly blessed them. And he says, for as in one body we have many parts, and all the parts do not have the same function, so we, though many, are one body in Christ. Since we have gifts that differ according to what has been given to us, let us exercise them. He's telling them, don't just kind of fade into the crowd, but give thanks to God for every one of the, what? Gifts. There we go. All right. Gifts that God has given you and that have been fostered and grown during these 8 years of elementary school. Gifts. Gifts. And I know this class is filled with a lot of gifts, a variety of gifts. Some of you have intellectual gifts. Raise your hand if you have intellectual gifts. No, don't do that. That'd be bragging. No. Indeed, you have athletic gifts. Well, some of you, right? Some of you can dance, although last night I'm not quite sure if that was on display. But some of you are very good at things like Connor knocking over your pastor in the middle of a basketball game. Yes. Some of you have gifts of a great sense of humor, how friendly and cooperative you are. Some of you write very well. I've seen some of your writing. And I was really surprised this past year to learn a special gift that your class has. Many of you have an incredible gift of being able to speak with a hillbilly accent. Right? It's just amazing, right? So you have many gifts. Remember where those gifts come from. We have your graduation within the context of Mass, the Eucharist, Thanksgiving, to God who has given you and me many, many gifts. And whenever we receive a gift, moms and dad, what did you teach them to say? Thank you. Thank you, and don't let those gifts that are just beginning to come forth in you now be stifled. Use your gifts for God's greater glory. Don't fall into the unfortunate kind of milieu of our culture that says we have to kind of hide those gifts and talents, or compare them to others and value your own worth and dignity according to how you measure up to somebody else's gifts and talents. No, you have your own unique gifts. You are a gift of God Himself just by being. Give thanks to Him and use them well. Okay, here's the next word. What was the first word? I heard the guys. What's the first word, girls? Gifts, right. Second word, very simple word, good. Good. All right? St. Paul, in the latter part to this reading, says, let love be sincere, hate what is evil, hold on to what is good. Hold on to what is good. You know, there's a moral theological principle that, of course, I know all of you know is the first principle of practical reason, right? You've heard of that before, haven't you? Father Miller and I think Father Tolentino was laughing. I taught, I think, Father Tolentino the first principle of practical reason when he was in the seminary, which is this: do good, avoid evil. Right? Very simple. Very simple. Do good, avoid evil. Doesn't that make sense? Now, St. Thomas Aquinas says that that's built within who we are as human beings. It's the very basis of who we are. We know this intuitively, that we have to do good and avoid evil, and our conscience is a way of judging whether or not our actions are in accordance with what is good, which we ought to do, or what is evil, which we ought to avoid. And now, boys and girls, the next 4 years especially are going to be a test to see whether or not you do good. You're going to meet a lot of challenges in the next 4 years. Parents, be ready to meet them along with them. And these next 4 years are going to be incredible years of growth and grace, but also challenge. You will be challenged to see whether or not these 8 years have helped form you into knowing what is good and how to do it, and what is evil and how to avoid it. You see, boys and girls, this is connected with the first word, which is what? Gift, right. Because God has given us the gift of knowing what is good and what is evil. Right? And by doing good, we enhance our gift of who we are as human beings. We give Him glory and thanks. By doing evil, we take away and diminish the gift of who we are as sons and daughters of God our Father. Our interior life, our soul, is the greatest gift that God could give us. We have to treasure it. Treasure it by doing good. Exactly. So gift, good. Third word, boys and girls, is very clear from both our first reading and especially our gospel. And it's the word of love. Love. Jesus is very clear. This is my commandment. Love one another as I love you. And he concludes, this I command you, love one another. The measure of all holiness is that of charity, of love. That's why we celebrate this votive Mass of charity, so that that love of God will be deeper and deeper instilled into you and I, so that we can follow the Lord's own command, love one another. And you know, the success of Catholic education, the success of Catholic education is in direct proportion not to how successful you are academically. That comes as a shock, doesn't it? It's not all about the grades, although I hope you did well, right? It's also not all about your athletic success. It's not all about And success in Catholic education is not in direct proportion to your ability to make that transition to adulthood. It's not even connected with how socially well balanced you will be. All of those things are extremely important. But the success of Catholic education is in direct proportion to how well the students meet love himself. How well a Catholic school is able to provide that space for its students to meet the one who is love, God. To understand that He is the standard for all of our lives. That He is love itself and commands us to be Him by saying, love one another as I loved you. When you're going to be judged, you and I will appear before God, and you're probably not going to remember any of your grades you ever got in grade school, or high school, or college, or anything else. Right? I don't remember. But what the Lord will look at will be this: how have you loved one another? The object then is not to become a bulldog, or for most of you to become a Viking or Vikette, but to truly be a saint. And that's measured by love. By love. So, 3 words. Love. That's all you got to remember. You passed the test. And that test will come to a conclusion when we do meet love himself. So boys and girls, I congratulate you. Congratulate all those that have gotten you to this day, have helped you, assisted you. And I pray that these 8 years have truly been an experience of each one of those gifts, good, and love. Gifts, good, and love. If that has been the case, boys and girls, our Catholic school has been a great success, and you will have successful lives.